warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Lima, but first are the headlines. Civil Aviation Authority backtracks on ban on taking videos, photos at Entebbe Airport. Somalia Summit vows final push against Al-Shabaab. Women embrace Total Energies Chan 2022 in Algeria. Welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The Uganda Civil Aviation Authority has, in an unprecedented move, backtracked on its earlier notice banning the taking of photos and recording of videos at Entebbe International Airport. We have more on this report.
The Uganda Civil Aviation Authority clarified in a statement that the reminder message restricting photography and filming relates only to operational restricted or sensitive areas within the terminal building, such as security screening. The country's aviation bodies moved to revitalize the ban on taking on videos. Photos at Entebbe Airport attracted public uproar, with a large section of people on social media platforms describing it as a shameful ploy to hide mischief witnessed in the recent past. Whereas others questioned the timing, others wondered what was the rationale behind the ban that seems to contradict UCAA earlier assurance that it would act on allegations of misconduct, including extortion, at the airport if the complainants provided credible evidence, including videos and photos. The shameful exposure on social media by members of the public has seen more vigilance at the airport by staff. However, according to UCAA, the latest ban on photography and videography has been issued after some members of the public had started filming security screening process and equipment.
Officials from the Ministry of Water and Environment have advised the government to consider relocating Chilembe Mines Hospital, whose structures were destroyed after River Nyamwamba burst her banks in 2022.
The hospital has since become a center of conflict, with locals staging demonstrations demanding the government construct a new one. Engineer Joseph Orione Yatu, representing the permanent secretary, said the location of Chilembe Mines and the dilapidated hospital is risk and could be run down again by any future floods. Yatu and his team appeared before the Committee on Health, chaired by Joel Sevikali, deputy chairperson, on Wednesday, 1st February 2023. He said the reconstruction of a hospital in Chilembe would require commitment from the government to routinely desilt the river and to shift households far away. He said that although his ministry does not receive funds for emergencies and disasters, they have mobilized over 30 billion shillings from the World Bank to desilt 5.4 kilometers out of the 25 kilometers of River Nyamwamba. The World Bank funding also caters for tree planting along the river banks and provision of agricultural inputs to affected households. Legislators urged the ministry to mobilize more funds and cover a bigger stretch of River Nyamwamba, which is said to be wild when it floods. The Kasese Municipality Member of Parliament, Ferigo Kambali, asked the ministry to use the existing funds to purchase a caterpillar to ensure continuity of river maintenance. Pokoma Nsimbi District Woman Member of Parliament, Veronica Nanyondo, was concerned that the recently constructed walls of the river bank are too short and weak to contain the heavy floods as observed in 2022.
The leaders of Somalia and neighboring countries vowed at a summit on Wednesday to make the final push against Al-Shabaab as a wide-ranging offensive against the militants gathers pace. We have more on this report.
Kenya's William Ruto, Djibouti's Ismail Omar Guelleh, and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed attended the summit hosted by Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in the capital Mogadishu. They discussed a coordinated military offensive against the Al-Qaeda-linked group, which has been waging an insurgency in the troubled Horn of African nation for more than 15 years. In a statement released after the meeting, the leaders agreed to make the final push for joint operations in the areas that remain under the terrorists to completely liberate the whole of Somalia from Al-Shabaab. The leaders pledged to pursue and destroy the jihadists in their strongholds and central Somalia in a robust operational campaign involving 4 countries and through military, finance and ideology. The 20,000-strong African Union Force, formerly known as AMISOM, is drawn from Uganda, Burundi, Djibouti, Ethiopia and Kenya, with troops deployed in southern and central Somalia. Its goal is to gradually reduce troop members to 0 by the end of 2024, with the security to be assumed by Somalia's army and police.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. Chadian President Mahamat Idris Deby Itno on Thursday opened his majority Muslim country's first embassy in Israel 4 years after the country's renewed ties following a decades-long rupture, according to an Israel statement.
The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office called the embassy's inauguration in Ramat Gan near Tel Aviv a historic moment. Netanyahu said in 2020 that he had discussed the possibility of opening an embassy in Jerusalem with the Chadian delegation. There would have been a coup for the right-winger who has been pressing foreign governments to set up their embassies in the city since then President Donald Trump moved the U.S. embassy in 2018. Israel recognized Chad when it declared independence from France in 1960 and by 1962 had opened an embassy in N'Djamena. Ties between Israel and Chad were broken in 1972 amid pressure from Muslim African nations. The Arab-Israel Wars of 1967 and 1973 led a number of African states to sever relations with the Jewish state.
Moving on, Chadian President Mahamat Deby met with Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday on a visit to open the Central African Nations Embassy in the Jewish state and build on their diplomatic relations established 5 years ago. Let's take a look.
In 2019, during Netanyahu's last term, him and late President Idris Deby Itno, Mahamat Deby's father, announced the re-establishment of diplomatic relations. The elder Deby, who ruled the Muslim-majority nation for more than 3 decades, was killed in 2021 on the battlefield in a fight against the rebels. His son replaced him as president at the head of a military junta. Upon landing in Israel on Tuesday night, Deby was received at the airport by Mossad chief David Barnea. The Chadian delegation then headed to Mossad headquarters in Glilot for a celebratory meeting. Mossad played a central role in maintaining quiet ties with Chad after 1972 and in working towards full normalization in recent years. Netanyahu and Deby opened the embassy on Thursday morning.
Away from that, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was welcomed on Wednesday by his Moroccan counterpart Aziz Aknouch to attend the Moroccan-Spanish Forum held in Rabat, Morocco on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023.
The Spaniards' trip to the North African Kingdom is aimed at further mending ties after a deep diplomatic crisis between the countries was resolved last year. Spanish Prime Minister said that their common goal is to launch a new stage that will allow them to take advantage of the full potential offered by the relationship between their two countries, which will be built on a renewed basis of trust and in according with agreements, mutual respect and understanding. As both countries seal agreements on Thursday, Sanchez and a dozen ministers are set to meet up top members of the Moroccan government. Spain's MP said that the sides also aim to completely normalize the passage of people and goods at crossing points. Spain is the third largest investor in Morocco.
Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. In our business news today, civil society organization Stand Up South Africa gathered droves of supporters to march to Power Utility Eskom's Sunning Hill headquarters in Sandton, Johannesburg on Thursday to demand an end to load shedding and a pending electricity tariff hike. Their demands echoed those of many South Africans facing an energy crisis. We have more on this report.
South Africa's energy crisis is now a major disaster that needs urgent fixing, according to experts who believe government's failure to invest in new power plants is at the root of the problem. The frequency and duration of the rolling power cuts to households and businesses are now at unprecedented levels. South Africa generates approximately 85% of its energy from coal. The national power utility Eskom has the capacity to generate up to 45,000 megawatts, but it has been unable to supply even 27,000 megawatts, giving rise to power cuts or load shedding that can last several hours a day.
In our health news today, nutritionists have urged Ugandans to refrain from eating animal foods and embrace healthy eating habits to curb the escalating rise of non-communicable diseases, which are mainly brought about by the lifestyle and bad eating choices.
Speaking during the climax event of the Africa Vegan Restaurant Week, Sarah Ngalombi, a senior nutritionist at the Ministry of Health, said many people eat unhealthy foods to show class and a sign of prestige, yet actually putting their lives at risk. Annually, over 100,000 Ugandans die of non-communicable diseases, and this contributes to over 35% of total deaths in the country, according to the Uganda Non-Communicable Disease Alliance. From the findings in the Uganda National Panel Survey, 26.5% of adults have hypertension, 1.4% of adults have diabetes, 3% of children under 5 years are overweight, 17% of adult women are overweight, 7% of adult men are overweight, 7% of adult men are obese, and 1% of adult men are obese. Ngalombi said the ministry is committed to supporting initiatives aimed at disease prevention through creating awareness of the risk factors and advocacy to Ugandans to adjust their feeding habits and lifestyles. She called upon the Ministry of Health to work hand in hand with people like them and nutritionists to promote healthy eating.
In our sports news today, for the first time ever, women have flocked stadiums in their thousands in Algeria to watch and enjoy football games thanks to the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2022. Ahomza with more.
From Algiers to Annaba, Constantine and Oran, the 7th edition of the CHAN has created an atmosphere and platform that girls and women have embraced to become a regular sight at the stadiums across Algeria. From the long queues at the security checkpoints on the outside of the stadiums to the entrance of the stands and the stands themselves, girls and women have become more and more comfortable in filling up the stadiums to enjoy football on the display. They are not only in the attendance, but they are providing the color with their different shades of outfits, as always green, blue, white, orange, and red headgear or cashmere jackets or even gloves. They dance to the songs that blow out of the stadiums. They cheer on the team with much passion, with warmth and allegiance. Algeria will now face Senegal on Saturday, February 4th at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Baraki, Algiers, in a repeat of the 2019 African Cup of Nations final.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.